are just curious about your reasons for applying for our superintendent position here at Morley Stanwood and what interested you.
Okay. Actually, I'm in a position in my life where I'm looking towards the last part of my career, believe it or not, and I want to be in a place where I can end my career and retire. And that sounds crazy, but that's what I'm looking for, the long haul, for a place where I can actually stay for a long period of time. I know a lot of people are looking to move around, but I'm looking to stay for a long period. The second reason is some of the things that I've, in my research that I've looked with your district, I can help you with, I believe. They're my strengths. And you know, I'm not afraid to tell you that there's some work that I think that you need to do, and there's some good things that you have here, but there's some things that I'm really good at that I've helped my current district with. I like to dive in. I like to feel like I'm needed and that there's a process, and I like to work with a team. The third reason is it's kind of like a life-changing thing, and a bulb went on. I have 2 kids. They're both college graduates, and I have a grandson for the first time, and it just kind of changed my focus on life. And I just said, you know, life's too fast, and I just feel like at this point I really want to change, and there's no hidden agenda. It's just what I want to do. So. You know, my career is going by too fast, and I sometimes wonder, you know, how it got to this point so fast, you know. But I want to enjoy life, and I want to be in a place where I can do that. So it's all good, for all good reasons.
Great, thank you.
I'm next.
Yep.
And you got part of my question already
I
answered.
apologize. My heart's still racing after going on 2 wheels. So, yeah.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
What have you learned about our district?
Yeah.
And do you have some suggestions for creating a specific direction for our district based on what you know?
Well, you know, I'll start with my district, and then it'll be a segue to your district. I came to Standish Sterling as my first superintendency. You're a little naive. I've had, if you looked at my resume, obviously, I have a lot of administrative experience. Most of my adult life, I've been an administrator, and I'm proud of that. And I've had a lot of different opportunities. One of the things that when I became a superintendent, I wanted to make a difference, and I was really nervous about leaving the classroom when I became an administrator, because I wanted to be close to the students, and that was what my drive was, to students. So when I became a principal, I said student learning is the most important thing, so I want to keep doing that. So when I became a principal, I did that. Then when I became a superintendent, I did that. And that's my philosophy, that, you know, student learning is the most important thing. So I went to Standish Sterling, and I implemented over 25 programs that are student learning driven. I think that, you know, I'm a literacy-oriented person. I think that those are some things that I can bring here that I think will improve. Skipping back real quick, I apologize, my head's moving faster than my mouth here, or my mouth's faster than my head. Looking at your scores, your test scores, you're doing, most of your test scores indicate that you're working at the state levels, and you can improve. Yeah, I mean, you get to the high school, and then they slip off. You need some, I believe, you need some testing, and it's district-run testing, and at a pretty intense level. Some summative, informative tests that can help the teachers have the data in their hands immediately, because you can't count on the MME and the MEEP to do that because it's old data. And so that's the first thing that I initiated at my current and last positions. The data needs to get in the hands of the practitioners. It's nice for us to massage it and say, geez, you know, I wish they would do better. But we're in this together. It's a team approach. So I think it's important that the teachers get the information as quick as possible so they can make remediation. And one of the things that I learned about your district is that there's a lot of potential for growth, there. I also looked at your budget. I'm a fiscally responsible person. I noticed that, your fund balance is okay. Where I'm at, I have a $5.1 million fund balance. And you might say, well, that's great, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be there. That was expected when I came in. So if you were to hire me, you would know that I would not obviously be able to get you a 5.1 fund balance with what you have right now. If I could, I'd be a miracle worker. But what I'm trying to explain with that is that I am fiscally responsible, and I take that very serious. And the taxpayers' money is important, and I'm very open with the public and letting them see where, and transparent and how that works. But I've noticed that you have a very supportive community, and you have supportive staff, and you have a very proud district, and that's not unlike what I'm used to. So I guess those are 3 things that I've noticed, and there's a lot of things I think I can bring to the table. So, those in a convoluted, long-winded way.
Thank you.
I apologize for that. That's,
We have plenty of time.
yeah, sorry about that.
I'm up next.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay, what's your opinion of the board superintendent relationship, communication, and how would you implement effective communication between you and us?
I think communication between the board and the superintendent is essential. What I believe is that if you were to ask me for something, all the board members get the same information. I don't play favorites with board members. I think that gets you into trouble. I think favoring one board member over another, it's not correct. I try to listen to people's views, and as I've gotten more mature in my life and in my job, I've learned that there's always 2 sides to everything. So I think the biggest thing I've learned as a principal and then now as a superintendent is that getting as much information to the board ahead of a meeting, when some crisis happens, just keeping you in the loop as much as possible so that there's no surprises. So you can make educated decisions. So we're not both looking at each other at a meeting or asking what just happened. That's embarrassing for everybody. So I try to get you as much information as I can. And literally, if you ask me something at a meeting and I don't know, I'm going to tell you. I'll find out. I don't know. I just think that it's just being honest and straightforward. And that's the best policy.
Thank you.
Hi there.
What is your history of curricular and instructional improvement, and how would you lead our district forward in these areas?
I'm not bragging. I'm top notch. And I think I put in your packet that if I didn't, if I go forward with you, then I'll be glad to share that with you. I think the biggest thing is that I am an instructional person. That is my forte. I get along well with people. I'm a good communicator. I like working with teachers. I like working with administrators. I get along with custodial people and bus folks, and the key thing is that I think everybody's part of the process. And then when you're talking about instruction, when you talk about student learning, everyone's part of it. And when you're talking about a new program, and you're talking about $470 cuts and $800 cuts, and where we're at now, we have to make sure that every single program we have is data-based and data-driven, because we can't afford to waste money. So, and the staff knows that over the years, different programs have been kind of shoved down their throat or pushed at them. So we like to keep them involved, and I believe in professional learning communities and site-based concepts, and having stakeholders have input, because I find that they get more buy-in that way, and that we are a team. Otherwise, especially with curriculum, people can go in their classrooms and shut the door, and that's what's gonna be taught. And so you have to check it, and that's why we have to have data. We have to have testing. We have to be able to say, okay, well, that wasn't taught. If you don't check, just like I had a professor when I was working on my specialist degree, always used to say, inspect what you expect. If you don't, then all you're doing is, it's just this mouthing stuff, it's really not that important to people. People expect you to check. And people, I find, professionals want you in the classroom. They want you to show interest. I mean, if you don't, people just eventually say, is this program worth it? So that is my forte, and I've implemented, like I said, over 25 different programs with the help of the staff, and there's been a lot of buy-in, and our scores have gone up all 4 years I've been there. So they made AYP at the high school, not unlike what you're trying to do for the first time in 4 years. It takes buy-in, it takes considerable work on the staff's part. We're North Central OA accredited district-wide. We were one of the first schools in the state, one of the first 16 in the state. I think my philosophy is simple. I tell our staff, can we be one of the best school districts within 50 miles? If you can't say that, that's embarrassing. If you can't say it and mean it, that's embarrassing. So if the answer is no, then we have a lot of work to do. So that's been my philosophy, and always have to work on something. And that's not embarrassing to say you have to work on something, but to say that that's an issue and not work on it, that's bad, and that's not acceptable.
Thank you very much.
How would you use the current and potential district financial resources to deal with the financial crisis here in Michigan?
I think, I'll give you an example how I'm dealing with it right now. Just right off the top, over $1 million, $1.2 million worth of cuts need to be made out of our budget. So, just having me wave a magic wand, the process is bigger than that. So right now I'm working with a committee of, there's probably, I start out with a small group, and it gets getting bigger because the more that you affect stakeholders and the deeper the cuts get, the more they hurt. Because if you start talking to a band parent and a parent of an athlete, and you ask them, which one of these should we cut? They're both going to say, that one. Right? There's no such thing as a cut that's easy. There's no such thing as a cut that should be made. So I've learned a long time ago, we have to do that type of cutting in a group's way. And we have to do it in a logical way, which is we have to say number one, which things have the least effect on student learning and instruction. And then we have to go out from there. And it starts getting ugly. And I've done it, and I've been there, and the first thing you have to do is you have to get the stakeholders involved. You have to get the parents involved, and the unions involved, and the board involved, and the central office involved, and everybody involved. And then the hard decisions start coming. You put stuff on the table, and right away people take it off the table. And then they say, okay, if I take that off the table, can I put this on the table? So for the first couple of weeks, nothing's on the table, and you cut dial soap out of the boys' restroom. So you save $50 the first week. But you take little steps at first, and then you get to bigger steps until you finally get people to realize that, our number one goal is that we instruct students. That's our number one focus. And you'll always hear me say this. And if you end up having me stay here for a little while, you'll hear this until you're sick of it. And then that means I'm getting through. Student needs over adult wants. That's the focus that I'll always say. And if we get to that in education, then we're at the right place. And that's where cuts come in. That's where we decide on programs. That's where we decide on everything. So that's what you do with resources. Limited or not.
your time next. Welcome to our district.
Thank
Glad
you.
you could make it on
Thank
two
you.
wheels.
Yeah.
My question is, Richard, is what do you think is your greatest administrative personnel strength, and how would it help Morley Stanwood school system improve?
My best personnel, my personal strength, like my attribute, well, I'm a people person. I get along well with people, I think. If I don't, I guess they're not telling me, but I'm a people person, I like people. I enjoy my job, so I don't mind putting the time in, and I don't mind, being at functions. It's something I enjoy. I like seeing students, involved in activities, and I enjoy, like, I schedule in, right now in my schedule, in a district this size, which is similar to my school district, I will be in every single classroom. I guarantee, that's happened every year since I've been a superintendent. In order for me to understand how instruction goes on in the district, I have to do that, and I enjoy that. And that's how I get to know people, and I like to talk to people, I like to get to know what they're thinking, and what their feelings are. I think if people don't get to know you and they don't get to trust you, then they don't ever get to the second and third reason why they're here. So I like to get to know people, and I'm a people person, so I think that's probably the best attribute that I have. And then I can do my, the administrative stuff that I'm good at, and the personnel, and the instructional stuff and all that, which I'm good at. But if you can't get past, being a great communicator and all that, they don't care, so.
Yeah, I got a question on that real quick.
Sure.
You said you visit every classroom. How often?
I usually more than once, but when you have, I have impromptu, when people ask me, there's teachers that will ask me to come in at special times, but I schedule every single teacher at least once.
During the year?
Yep. Yes. Yep, and that's, because if you don't schedule it, you won't do it. You always make reasons why you're busy and so forth.
On Monday morning, you come into work and you have 3 complaints, one from a parent, one from a staff member, and one from a board member. Who do you respond to first, and how do you decide how to prioritize?
It's a loaded question. Very nice. It really matters what the message is. If there's a gun in the bathroom, then it depends on which of those 3 told me that, or if a student's hurt or whatever it is. I literally prioritize by what the situation is. And don't take this personally, but board members are not any more important in the day than anyone else. I literally, the kids and the teachers, they have a real tight schedule. So, and the parents, so when they can make it in and so forth, I try to see them as soon as I can. But truly, it's the situation, and I'm not trying to be evasive, but that's kind of how I do it. I'm not the kind of person that's I'm not a suck up or anything. I am what I am. I'm kind of this is what you get. I wear my heart on my sleeves. I work hard, and I'll give you everything I have, and that's what I am. So, but no, I'm not. It just depends on what's in the message.
Okay, thank you.
Back to me again. You mentioned AYP a little bit
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
What's one strategy you have working with our district
Yep.
to help us make AYP at all levels?
Well, I think the biggest fallacy that high schools make, for example, is that high school kids don't need literacy as a focus. Literacy needs to be infused at the high school. And every place I've been, I've always introduced literacy K-12. Students that cannot read properly, it'll affect their math, it'll affect their social studies, it affects everything. Also, another thing that I would do is I would work with the testing, like I said. The teachers right now, if they are using the MME results, the test is a nationally normed test. It's Michigan formulated, but it's really not shooting exactly for our Huskies. So our teachers are busting their butt in this state, and then the state changes the criteria. It's like this moving target. So truly what we need to do, and we have to be successful on that, but the way that Michigan set up our targets, Florida set theirs really low, so they keep making AYP, but we set ours up pretty rigorous. And I'm not making excuses, but we have to attack that process rigorously. And I think some people just think it's gonna go away. And I have a different philosophy. Do you want mediocrity, or do you want your students to be the best they can be in a global economy? And I believe that I don't care if they're in a suburban, rural, or inner city setting, which I've worked in all three settings. But, and that's why I know that students are basically students. I don't care what their background is. Students need to know what the target is. And they have to have steps laid out for them to get there. So if we set a target for them that's here, they will shoot for that. So why don't we set the target up here? I don't get it. You know, and then we help them get there. And strategically, we have to do that. And so we need strong instructional leaders. We need really good principals to do that. We need support from all of you, and that when a principal is down, that you encourage them and I encourage them, and that when the community's concerned, we tell them we're concerned too, and that we embrace that we're going to have our own testing philosophy. We have the state testing, but we're going to have our own that's rigorous. And we're going to test our own high school kids and our own middle school kids, our own elementary kids, and we're going to make the school the best school around. Because we want kids from other districts to want to come here. And we want people from all over to think this is the best school district within 100 miles or whatever. And whether you end up having that come into fruition or not is all really in here, in my philosophy. So, but you have to give the teachers the tools, and I think that's the biggest thing. And kids are amazing. They will work up to the level that you push them to. And if it's only here, that in my career I have found that I've always tried to set the bar high, and you can't do it so high that they drown, but you have to push them. And then once they get there, you move it up a little higher, and you're just like, you're crying out loud, but you keep doing that. And you do that for yourself, you do that as a district, and we just keep doing it. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy after a while.
How can a superintendent make themselves more effective with community involvement? And do you have an example of any of your community leadership skills?
Yeah, I just think when I was thinking about becoming an administrator and a superintendent, one of my mentors once told me, you're going to be in a fishbowl. And I never knew what that meant before I became an administrator, until my son started screaming in a Walmart. And then I looked at him, and then I looked around, and every administrator knows what that means. You start, you are, as a superintendent, you are the spokesperson for the district. You exemplify everything that is supposed to be good about a district. So I can't afford to have a bad day. I have to be a person who, when I'm out in public, when I'm at home, I have to exemplify what's good in education. I have to, so if I'm tired and a parent comes up and asks me about what's good about this district, I have to be in the mood to tell them. I always say that, you know, I have to carry the banner. You have to be a good PR person. You have to believe in what you say. You have to carry the mantra all the time. And I have that personality. Some people don't. Some people are put off by that, but I don't know if I've ever been at a football game or a prom or whatever that people haven't asked me things about. How can I get, you know, my daughter has this problem and how can I get help or whatever? Because that's sometimes the only time they can. You know, so I always say I'm never off the clock. You know, I've had all kinds of things that have happened, you know, burning buildings and unfortunately, you know, students have passed away and you know, it's tragic things like that. That we pray never happens, and you know, school closings, that kids pray for that, and those are the good days when you dial that one up. The kids are going, "I love Mr. Dodd," you know. So, but you know, things like that. But you just have to be involved, and I'm in the Rotary Club and things like that. But where you can give back the dictionaries and all that stuff. But really, in my opinion, all that stuff is candy coating. Most of it's just being yourself, being part of the community, and you know, visiting places, trying to get any kind of companies that are, you know, even if they're just small companies, and you know, involved in the school, trying to get them to sponsor anything you can. Even if it, you know, just trying to get them to come into the schools and get involved, even if it's co-op opportunities or, you know, just trying to get them to get a partnership with a school, you know, any way you can. So that's how I'd answer that question.
Do you have experience working with grants? How can a district our size maximize its grant potential?
Yeah, well, I saw your title grants and your at-risk and your rural grant, and yes, what I did this year is I said, you know, we get similar grants that you have, you know, and I decided, you know, when you're a district the size you are, there's limitations to what kinds of grants you're going to be eligible for. You know, they pigeonhole you. I know, because I'm a similar kind of school, you know, but there are things you can do. We did the Consumers Power Light Initiative, and we have fairly new schools too, but we're probably going to save $40,000 this year in electricity alone, and we have newer buildings. But our lights in our gym are the big ones, halogen. They're gone now, and we have the new, you know, T8s, and it's going to save us a ton of money. We have a field house that's going to have new lighting in it and so forth. Our bus garage, same way, all that stuff. But so, you know, sometimes you spend a little bit of money so you can get a turnaround after a year or so to get more money saving for the long haul. So you're green and you're doing different things. But a lot of the grants that you'd be eligible for are going to be, you know, equal match grants. The grants that are 100% funded are quickly drying up, you know, and that's the problem. They want you to match everything now. That's what I'm finding, and but I do have some experience with that, and you know, they're limited, but there is some out there. Yes, sir.
Take your drink. We're in no big hurry. Okay. What are your long-term and short-term personal and professional goals?
Like I said, my goals have changed drastically in the last year. I have a little grandson named Walter now, and my son lives. One reason why I'm kind of interested in a place over on this side of the state is my son lives in Chicago now, and I like the fact that I can go and see my son. My son and I are very close, and I miss him, you know. So, and my daughter lives in Ann Arbor, so, you know, and I'm over on the east side, so, you know, it's just, my long-term, that's my short-term goal is, I'm looking for a new job. My long-term goal is to stay employed and, in education, as a superintendent. I feel like I would like to stay in one district the rest of my career, and that's what I'd like to do. It's crazy, the other day I thought, why do I want to be a superintendent with all these cuts? But that's just being honest with you, you know, but maybe I would like to open a convenience store or something, but that's a little risky right now too, so, you know, I just said, this is what I was put on this earth to do for some reason, and I'm good at it and I like it. I believe in education, and I really think that in the next couple of years we're gonna weather this, but right now it's gonna be ugly, and, you know, if you look at some of the other, of course, as I'm sure you know, and I don't have to tell you this, we're called the Rust Belt, and so is, you know, Ohio and, you know, Illinois. Illinois is really bad right now with their infrastructure, but we were supposed to have our, we were supposed to be getting out of this recession. You know, now the gas prices are going back up, so I think it's gonna retard that a little bit, so.
Makes it real difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's, yeah, and you feel for the people, and I think that's, you know, and this is not something that really, maybe you can, maybe it'll help you understand where I'm coming from. I grew up poor. I grew up in poverty, just my mom and 3 boys. So I put myself through college. I got 4 degrees. Education is extremely important to me, so when I see someone struggling, those kids seem to congregate and find me, and so I understand it. And you know, when I see parents struggling, and I see them get their heat turned off, or I see them having issues, that happened to me when I was a little boy. So all the way up until I was probably a sophomore in high school, I didn't know half the time when we were eating. So to me, you know, anything that the governor can throw, this is gravy. You know, we can handle anything. So I'm an optimist by nature. I was raised by a very strong woman, and so I'm proud of that. And you know, that's why I'm a team player. I'm focused on team concept. My mom always told me that you know, it's better to be part of a team than be a team of one and all alone.
That'll segue right into this question.
All right.
Do you have any experience in collaborative efforts with other local districts or ISDs?
And I'm sure, and I'm pretty confident that, you know, if you go on with this, please call the Bay Area ISD superintendent. Please do. I'm a big believer in collaboration with our ISD. We're in a situation where we have a two county ISD. We're in the northern portion, and we have 2 smaller districts in our county, and collaboration is a necessity, and especially for them, they're so small. And we collaborate together. Matter of fact, we just had a meeting yesterday, you know, transportation collaboration meeting, talking about, you know, is there anything we can do? You know, there's some issues I can't talk about because they're still on the table, but there's some issues that are out there that we're talking about all the time. And there's a lot of ways that you can help each other, and you know, and I think that educators need to get away from worrying about that, you know, we have to work with each other, and the ISD is there to help, and we're working together, and that's really important. I think we have it's all of us working for what's best for kids, and that's the way I look at it. So yes, a lot of experience with that, and I'm amenable to that as well. And the superintendent of the ISD here would probably like to hear that, but not a problem.
Thanks a lot.
We are in an era of increased accountability. How would you plan to implement accountability of our district with teachers, administrators, bus drivers, parapros?
Well, truthfully, it's a real simple process. I don't expect anybody to do anything I wouldn't do. And I do expect a high level of achievement and improvement. But I'm gonna be right there beside them. And I work hard. If there's a program that's implemented, I'm gonna be right there. And the thing is, if you give people the tools and you help them along the way and they choose not to do it, I have an issue with that. But I also will give them say on implementing things. So, like I said, I believe in professional learning communities. But if people are not buying into the concept of having say, how ludicrous is that? But there are people like that. You know, I'm just not a big believer. There's 7 people, 8 people, but sitting here, and one of you is not doing what you're supposed to. So I yell at all 8 of you. No, we have the one person in, and we talk to that one person. When I was a teacher, it always drove me nuts when the principal would come in and say, "Some of you aren't doing your job." So we all look at each other and say, "What did I do? I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do, but maybe I'm not doing what I was supposed to do." So I think you go right to the source. And with assessments now, with a high level of accountability, Rick DeFore is one of my favorite authors and superintendents and former principals, and now he goes all over the world. But he always says, nobody wants to be the worst educator in a building. Nobody. So they're all looking around to see who's the worst, and no principal wants to be the worst, no superintendent wants to be the worst. It's just innately in we look around, if you see people running, everybody wants to be the second to the slowest, they don't want to be the slowest. So what I try to tell people is, why do you want to be even close to the slowest? Set the bar higher. And that's when you keep pushing, but the key thing is being out there with them, showing them that you buy into the same concepts. And if they don't, then that's when you have to talk with them, you have to be right there, and I'm not afraid to take those issues on. All right.
You sure you don't want to drink?
I'm waiting.
What are some of your strategies when dealing with contract negotiations?
Well, the district that employs me right now, they expect me to do the contract. So I've had interest-based bargaining training, and so my philosophy is simple: honesty, integrity, straightforward approach. There's only a finite amount of money. So why do people take a negative, nasty approach? I don't like this sitting across from somebody and you throw an offer out, we throw an offer back, and we yell at each other, and I will not do that. We work together. When it's all said and done, people walk down the hallway. My philosophy is that we work as professionals. It's a professional environment during negotiations. When it deteriorates from that, it's not going to be positive for either of us. It's business. That's all it is. And so what I do is, like I said, I'm transparent. If somebody wants to see the books, see the books. Those are public documents, and I've never been one to say, FOIA the books. Look at them. We'll show you the books. This is how much money we have. There's no hidden money. There it is. That's how much money we have. So, I've settled 2 teachers' contracts, and as a superintendent, and our ESP, which is our bus drivers, custodian, secretarial, kitchen, etc. I just think you have to be on, and we're currently negotiating with the ESP group right now. So, and then as a principal, I've been on negotiating teams, and I was a union leader on the other side of the coin as a teacher. So, I've seen both sides of it. I put her to sleep.
I go last, so I just keep waiting for more people to ask questions. How would you ensure that any budget cuts that are made, and you did talk about this a little bit, will have the least impact on classroom instruction? Maybe some examples of some things that you're looking at or that you've implemented. If you're like our district, you've been cutting forever, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to set the parameters, and you have to be very clear on what those expectations are. And when you have a committee, there's rules, and those rules need to be, and I have the same philosophy with all meetings, because what happens is you can get a lynch mob going real quick. So the meeting starts out with these are the ground rules. And what's the number one thing that we're doing here? Well, students and student learning is the focus of what we're doing. So and a lot of times I'm a referee, you know, so that's how I set it up. And we focus in on the things that are important, because quickly it'll deteriorate if you don't. And so, example of that would be, you know, our pool was an add-on. Later on, I know it's gonna make you sick. We had $11.6 million. Okay, so in our fund balance, and that was when the state was threatening. I don't know if you remember that, about 8 years ago, I guess, to take that money back. And they're talking about that again, taking from the schools who have a lot of fund balance. It's a scare tactic, but you never know now. Now anything they scare you with, you know, you almost want to do it. Well, our district built a pool and used up $4 or $5 million. But here's something you got to think about when you build something like that. And you're thinking, how much would it cost to run? I'll tell you. It's almost for 3 months during the summer, like say from July to maybe that springtime to about to August-ish, about $21,000. So that's something they're thinking about cutting. And they can move all the programs, and they wouldn't normally do it, see, because you don't normally move things, right? And you don't cut things if times are good.
Right.
But when things are ugly, you're thinking about this stuff, because that's a good move, because you're not doing something that's going to affect instruction, right? At the board meeting, the committee decided on this, and of course, no cuts can be made without board approval. So the board's looking at this. It's on the agenda. What do you think happened? The swimming group came to.
Sounds familiar.
See, so even something like that. So then I have to remind the crowd, thank you for coming. Just want to remind you that the committee and the board has to make tough decisions every day. But would this be a better cut than textbooks for the 5th graders? See, because you got to get them thinking. You got to get people thinking. If you don't cut this, that's $21,000, which could buy textbooks. You know, so then they start going, oh. So that's my job. That's what we do. But it's a long and cumbersome process. So it's on the. It was tabled, and it'll be on next month's agenda. But then it'll probably be cut. It'll be closed for those months. That's the first time, though. This is very tough. This is very tough for some of the people in our district. So I know how you feel.
Cuts are huge this time.
Yeah. Yep. So I know how you feel.
We, went through our initial questions, and then I know, I'm sure some of us were jotting down questions throughout, or had questions if we wanted to follow up on from your resume, so if you don't mind, we'll go ahead
No,
and some of those at this
Sure,
time.
sure.
I have one question. The first question we asked about, why you applied here, you said you wanted to stay long-term. Can you define long-term?
Because you look at my resume and you say, geez, he bounces around all over the place. When I was a brand new administrator, basically, I was mentored to go and move to get to where I was, to the next job. And I've never liked it. And I want to stay somewhere. I have about 10 years before I can retire. And I don't want to move anymore. at the age where, I feel like I can do that, and I'm okay with that. See, when you're younger and your mentors have all said, okay, if you wanna be a superintendent, this is what you have to do, and I trusted my mentors, they're great people. I was a assistant principal at 27, you know, so I was on the fast track. And so I've been an administrator most of my adult life. So now I'm in a position where I don't have to do that anymore. I wanna sit back, I wanna enjoy life, I wanna enjoy my job, and I wanna be somewhere for the rest of my career. And so I have the ability to look at a place that will allow me to do that. You know, so that's why, and it's a simple thing.
Obviously, you do a lot of prioritizing, and that's part of the territory when
Yep.
being a superintendent. But the stuff that you put up at the top of the list, your priorities, how punctual are you at implementing those? Do you take care of business right away, or do you put it off? We mentioned grants, we were talking about that, for instance. There's obviously certain times of year that
Yep.
they have to be applied for. Could we expect that you would address those and various other important things at the appropriate time of the year? That's the question I have.
I don't know if you've noticed, I'm anal. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm anal, and you know, I've mellowed out in my old age. I think that's a good thing to a certain degree, because, you know, when you're 27 years old and you're an assistant principal, and no one was doing that. I was, you know, and I have a very supportive wife. My kids came to everything with me on my hip, you know, and some of that I regret, I'll be honest with you, because, you know, I think my kids grew up too fast, and I missed some of the things that and I'm not gonna do that, you know, now, because my kids are all grown up and now I have a grandson, and I'm gonna breathe and see him grow up, you know, because I've changed my priorities. My job is very, very important to me, so don't take it that way, it is. My family, my wife, my grandson, my job, all very important to me. But my wife and my grandson and my kids they're very, very important to me. So, but as far as getting things done, never has that ever been a problem. You can talk to any of my references. They'll tell you, and I don't know if the letter's in there from Tim Bearden, who's known me since I was 6th grade. He'll tell you the truth. I'm a go-getter. I do what I'm supposed to do. I went back to my alma mater, which is Swartz Creek, and we changed that school together. But he's known me forever. And like I said, Mike Dewey, the superintendent of the ISD in Bay Area, knows me very well. He'll tell you that stuff. Any of the people I work with will tell you that. I have high expectations for myself and for the people I work with. I've had really good mentors that have said, you know, have pushed me. I have fun, but fun for me is success. Seeing things improve, that's the key thing. And I think people like to see improvement, and they like to see the organization improve. You know, that's important. Nobody likes to see stagnation. You know, that frustrates. That's when the morale will go. You know, but if you hire me, you'll see somebody who will give it their all. And if you have something, here's a key thing. If it's a board priority, it doesn't have to be a Dodge priority. We're not always going to agree on every single thing, but I will do what I'm supposed to do. And I'll tell you my opinion, and I will give you my best input on every single issue. But we work together for the betterment of the kids. And but if you have something that you want, that's important to the district, I will bust my tail to get it for you. And if I can't, I'll tell you why, and I'll show you the reasons why, and if I didn't do what I was supposed to do, I'll take accountability for it. So, is that a good enough answer?
A follow-up question to
Uh-oh. Wasn't a good enough answer.
that. What do you expect, what's your expectations from your board members? What do you want from us?
Truthfully, just honesty, let me know what you expect. Let me do the things I need to do to improve the district. Having a lot of dialogue so we know where you want to go. Because the board sets the direction for the district. And the superintendent, this is just my opinion, works with the administrators and staff to carry out that goal, that mission. And that's what we have to do. So we come up with the ideas, and then we have to go out and try to get it done. So, it's hard, and, if you say to me, we'd like, the high school needs to improve, and then there's 6 board members in the high school telling them how terrible they are. And I'm just saying the high school just because, not because they're terrible, I'm just saying, I'm a former high school guy too, so I can say, I worked at all levels. But, if there's 6 people telling them they're terrible, and I'm working with them, it's undermining what I'm trying to do. That's all I'm saying. Just support, on what we're doing, and then if the board doesn't feel like we're going in the right direction, let's talk about it. We'll get back on track or whatever, but just support, we support each other, we support the staff, we get going on the right track. That's a key thing, I think it's really important, and if you do that, and the communication is good between everybody, I think that's what keeps the relationship between everybody really good for a long time. Simple. To me, relationships are simple. It's just being respectful and always keeping it open. And if you ever disagree, come and see me. Talk to me. That's what I like about it. I am not afraid to take criticism. It's, after I pick myself off the floor, then but I listen. So.
What is your way that you like to communicate with your board members? Is that?
Different ways. You're busy, and you have lives too, and this isn't your full-time job, and that's the key thing. I think some superintendents, they think because it's my full-time job, it's your full-time job. So what I try to do is if there's things coming in from the state, I like to email it to you. I like to get it out there to you. Or
He's our anti-technology.
Okay, I'll take a pigeon, send it out, the courier pigeon out.
That would work.
But we'll work on it.
We just lost some points.
Yeah, sorry, but just because I can get you, because I can get you all the information quickly, and the way this stuff is coming down from the state right now, sometimes hourly, but like I could copy it off and have a packet for you, but however I got to get it to you, I got to get it to you, because like today, 3 or 4 different changes, right, just today, it's so volatile right now. What they're thinking about, is it going to be an 80-20 insurance cut, that's going to be expected, or is it a 90-10 if you're self-funded? In 2 weeks we'll know. That's going to change everybody's world. But there's no cap on the insurance, so what's that going to, it's a mess. So, but I want you all to know. So you need to know, because people hit you up, your constituents are going to hit you up, and you want to know about that stuff, and you want to be able to talk to them and tell them. And so I like to do that. I like to, and sometimes if it's really something terrible, I'll call each of you individually. Or if it's sometimes I like to just call you to see how things are going. I think I like to call just for friendly call, just to keep in touch with you. Just to keep the relationship in a positive way. So.
Any others?
I have one. I just want to offer one of your examples. Do you have an example of accountability or a change that you did that maybe didn't work, and how did you adjust to that?
I don't do things that don't work. No.
You're a superintendent.
Well, you know, I don't wanna get too much detail, but, you know, you make moves. You make moves with people, you think, you get all the input from folks, they're excited, you think it's gonna work. And there's been a couple moves in my career that I've moved people to different buildings and so forth, and it may not have worked. You're like, you know. But it looked like on the surface that it was gonna be a good move. And so what I find is that before you move people, you gotta really delve into it. You gotta really look at I don't like to move people just because someone doesn't like them. I like to look at it as what is it gonna do to affect learning? Is it best for the kids? Is the relationship between two people so bad that I have to move them? And what's the motives? I've learned that there's sometimes motives, you know, and I wanna figure it all out. When I was brand new superintendent, I moved somebody because I thought it was for the best, and I found out there was political motives. I was a little naive back then, but I'm not so naive now.